In recent times, shocking details have been revealed about Epstein's activities on his private island. News of his illegal activities and dealings with underage girls have been public for years, but the true extent of his activities is only now just coming to light. In this video, I will be pulling back the curtains on the shocking details of Epstein's activities on Little St. James. Shocking video of Epstein's island. The recently released Epstein files have brought new, disturbing evidence to light. Among the documents are photos that appear to show underage girls on Epstein's private island. These images are important as they provide visual evidence of the alleged crimes that took place on Little St. James. The photos also feature Epstein's accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell on the island back in 2006, contradicting her testimony that she was not present at that time. In a shocking turn of events, the judge overseeing the case ordered these photos to be removed from the file, stating that they were included by mistake. This decision has sparked outrage and speculation, as many believe the images are crucial evidence in understanding the full extent of Epstein's crimes, the most heinous of which are said to have taken place on Epstein Island. In 1987, Little St. James, a small private island in the United States Virgin Islands, was owned by venture capitalist Arch Cummin. The island, a hidden gem southeast of St. Thomas, was up for sale for $10.5 million. About a year later, in April 1988, a company named LSJ LLC purchased the island for $7.95 million. Documents later revealed that Jeffrey Epstein was the sole member of LSJ, making him the new owner of Little St. James. Epstein wasted no time in transforming the island into his personal paradise. He referred to it as Little St. Jeff and made it his primary residence. The main house on the island underwent extensive renovations by Edward Tuttle, a renowned designer of the Ammon resorts. Tuttle's touch brought a luxurious and mysterious feel to the estate, making it the perfect hideaway for Epstein's activities. Epstein's estate on Little St. James continued to develop so much that by 2008, the island boasted a staff of 70 people. According to a former staffer, Epstein demanded absolute discretion and confidentiality from his employees, creating an air of secrecy around the island. The staff was instructed to avoid discussing Epstein's activities and to maintain a low profile. Epstein's influence extended beyond the island itself. He had stakes in various businesses in the US Virgin Islands, including Hyperion Air. This allowed him to maintain a low profile while conducting his illicit activities. Court documents revealed that Epstein frequently flew into St. Thomas's only airport, Cyril E. King Airport. The US Virgin Islands Attorney General, Denise George, stated that the private jets used by Epstein flew in a separate area from commercial flights, making it easy for him to hide operations. Jeffrey Epstein's reputation among the locals of the US Virgin Islands was far from stellar. Despite his attempts to buy goodwill through acts like donating money to government officials and providing dozens of computers to local schools, his image remained tarnished. Denise George stated in 2020 that Epstein was not regarded as an upstanding member of the community. His status as a registered sex offender was public knowledge, and his alleged crimes were an open secret among the locals. Residents of St. Thomas, located just 2 miles off the coast of Little St. James, were well aware of Epstein's activities. CBS News' Mola Lenghi spoke with locals who described the island as Pedophile Island. The stories they shared painted a grim picture of Epstein's operations. According to witness accounts, young girls were often seen arriving on the island, only to disappear behind the walls of Epstein's luxurious estate. Epstein's method of transporting young girls to the island was carefully planned to avoid detection. He relied on his private jets and boats, ensuring that the girls were brought to the island discreetly. Witnesses, including air traffic controllers and other airport personnel, reported seeing Epstein accompanied by girls who appeared to be preteens. These sightings were not isolated incidents, but part of a disturbing pattern. A harbor employee told CBS News that a boat with the letters LSJ was used to ferry workers and supplies to and from Epstein's island. This boat was also allegedly used to transport young girls to the island, further implicating Epstein in his heinous crimes. The methods Epstein used to transport these girls were designed to maintain a low profile, but it wasn't until much later that the evil acts he carried out on the island would come to light. Authorities attempting to investigate Epstein's activities on the island faced serious challenges. When Epstein was alive, law enforcement officials were often stopped at the dock and told they could not enter the private property. Denise George pointed out the difficulty of escaping from the island, stating, "Remember, he owns a whole island, so it wasn't a situation where a child or a young woman would be able to just break away and run down the street to the nearest police station." One of the most horrifying accounts comes from a 15-year-old alleged victim who was so desperate to escape that she tried to swim away from the island. Another victim described how she was trapped in Epstein's bedroom on the island with a gun strapped to his bedpost, making it clear that escape escape was not an option. Although some of the people who have spoken up about Epstein's abuse have remained anonymous, others, like Virginia Giuffre, have gone all out to speak their truth. Virginia Giuffre, born Virginia Roberts, was forced to endure a childhood filled with hardship and abuse. At the age of 14, things had gotten so bad that she found herself living on the streets. 3 years later, Virginia had turned 16 and was in the process of turning her life around. She had secured a job as locker room attendant at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in Palm Beach. It was while working this job that she met Ghislaine Maxwell, who offered her a chance to train as a massage therapist. When Virginia arrived at Jeffrey Epstein's home in Palm Beach for what she believed was a job interview, she was met with a scene that would forever alter the course of her life. Epstein was lying naked, and Maxwell instructed her on how to massage him. During this encounter, Epstein and Maxwell asked Virginia about her life. Trusting them, she revealed her troubled past, including her experiences of sexual and physical abuse. She didn't know that this encounter marked the beginning of yet another terrifying period in life. Virginia Giuffre's experiences with Jeffrey Epstein were nothing short of a nightmare. From the moment she stepped into Epstein's Palm Beach mansion, she was thrown into a cycle of abuse and manipulation. The initial massage sessions quickly escalated into sexual encounters, with Epstein taking control of nearly every aspect of Virginia's life. He manipulated her with promises of financial support and a better future, all the while subjecting her to repeated sexual abuse. Virginia's life took a darker turn as she became more and more involved with Epstein. She was not just abused by Epstein, but was also passed around like a platter of fruit among his powerful associates. One of the most high-profile individuals Virginia was introduced to was Prince Andrew. According to Virginia, her introduction to Prince Andrew took place in 2001 when she was just 17 years old. Jeffrey Epstein brought her to London, where she was introduced to the prince at Ghislaine Maxwell's townhouse. This meeting would later become infamous, largely due to a photograph taken that night, which shows Prince Andrew with his arm around Virginia's waist, while Maxwell smiles in the background. Virginia's account of the events that followed is both chilling and detailed. After the initial introduction, the group went out to a nightclub. After the night out, they returned to Maxwell's home, where Virginia alleges that Maxwell instructed her to do for Andrew what I do for Jeffrey. This instruction was a clear indication of the sexual abuse that was to follow. Unfortunately for Virginia, that night would turn out to be the first of many when she would be forced to engage in intimate acts with the prince. According to her, he took advantage of her once at Maxwell's London home and later at Epstein's homes in Manhattan and Little St. James in the Virgin Islands. She describes the encounters in vivid detail, recounting how she felt terrified and powerless. Prince Andrew has consistently denied these allegations. In a 2019 interview with BBC Newsnight, he claimed to have no recollection of ever meeting Virginia Giuffre. He also provided an alibi for the night in question, stating that he was at a Pizza Express restaurant with his daughter. In addition to that, he clearly stated that Virginia's account of their encounters didn't happen. One of the most controversial aspects of Prince Andrew's defense was his claim that he could not have been sweating profusely, as Virginia described, because he had a medical condition that prevented him from sweating. The legal developments that followed Virginia's allegations have been complex and high-profile. In 2021, Virginia filed a civil lawsuit against Prince Andrew in the United States, accusing him of sexual abuse. The lawsuit alleged that Prince Andrew had caused her emotional distress. The legal battle that followed was closely watched by the media and the public, as it involved a member of the British royal family and allegations of serious criminal conduct. Prince Andrew's legal team made several attempts to have the case dismissed. They argued that Virginia's lawsuit was invalid due to a previous settlement agreement she had reached with Epstein in 2009, which included a clause meant to protect other individuals from legal action. However, a judge ruled that the case could proceed, setting the stage for a potential trial. On February 15, 2022, it was announced in a joint statement that both parties had reached an out-of-court settlement. The legal battle between Virginia and the British royal was widely publicized, and his presence on Epstein Island drew significant attention. But according to new information obtained from recently unsealed court documents, Prince Andrew wasn't the only influential figure to visit the island. Famous visitors. The unsealing of Jeffrey Epstein's files in January 2024 has brought to light some of the most shocking and controversial details about the association between former US President Bill Clinton and the notorious sex offender. Among the revelations are Clinton's alleged flights on Epstein's private plane and his reported presence on Epstein Island, as mentioned by witnesses and in-court documents. Bill Clinton's association with Jeffrey Epstein dates back to the early 200s. Clinton allegedly flew on Epstein's private plane, a Boeing 707, Clinton to various international destinations. Personal flight logs kept by one of Epstein's pilots revealed that Clinton and his entourage traveled extensively on Epstein's jumbo jet to places like Paris, Bangkok, and Brunei in 2002 and 2003. These logs show that Clinton was a frequent flyer on Epstein's plane, raising questions about the nature of their relationship. One of the most shocking revelations comes from Virginia Giuffre, whose statements have been recorded in court files. In her 2016 deposition, Giuffre claimed to have seen Bill Clinton on Epstein Island not once, but twice. She recounted meeting Clinton on Little St. James. Giuffre described attending a dinner with Clinton and two young, beautiful girls, typical of the company Epstein kept around him. She emphasized that Clinton was never sexually involved with her or anyone else she witnessed, but the mere presence of a former US president on such a notorious island is enough to raise eyebrows. Giuffre's testimony is corroborated by Johanna Sjoberg, another Epstein accuser, who provided damning testimony in her 2016 deposition. Sjoberg recounted Epstein saying that Clinton likes them young while referring to young girls. This statement, coupled with the flight logs and Giuffre's testimony, paints a disturbing picture of Clinton's association with Epstein. The unsealed documents from January 2024 included almost 200 names, ranging from Epstein's accusers to influential personalities in business and politics. Clinton's name emerged prominently, mentioned as John Doe 36 more than 50 times in the redacted documents. Despite these mentions, Clinton has not been accused of any criminal wrongdoing. His spokesperson emphasized that it has been nearly 2 decades since the former US president had any contact with Epstein, and that he has not been accused of any criminal activity related to Epstein. The court documents also revealed several depositions from Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's longtime companion, who is currently serving a 20-year prison sentence for aiding Epstein's sex trafficking of young women and girls. Maxwell denied that Clinton was ever on Epstein's island. Giuffre's efforts to depose Clinton to ask him whether he had been on the island were rejected by a judge in June 2016. In a January 2016 email to Maxwell, Epstein encouraged her to focus her efforts on discrediting Giuffre's version of the Clinton story, which he claimed could be easily disproved. This email suggests that Epstein and Maxwell were actively trying to protect Clinton's reputation in the middle of the growing scandal. Despite the lack of concrete evidence placing Clinton on Epstein's island, the alarming volume of mentions and testimonies raises questions about the nature of his relationship with Epstein. Another influential figure accused of participating in the evil activities carried out on Epstein Island is Hollywood actor Kevin Spacey. The fateful meeting between Spacey and Epstein occurred in 2002 during an 8-day humanitarian trip to Africa. Organized by the Clinton Foundation, the trip aimed to raise awareness about AIDS. Alongside Spacey and Epstein were former President Bill Clinton and comedian Chris Tucker. They visited several countries, including South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Rwanda, and Mozambique. During this trip, the group traveled on Epstein's private jet, infamously known as the Lolita Express. Flight logs confirmed Spacey's presence on the plane, sparking rumors and speculation about his relationship with Epstein. Spacey later testified in court that he met Epstein on this trip, but denied any further connection. He stated, "I was now being talked about as if I knew Jeffrey Epstein, as though I was some important and powerful friend of his, and because I'd been on this airplane, I had actually flown to what was being called Pedo Island, and while it is true that I met Jeffrey Epstein on that trip, I never saw him again, and I have never been to any island." Although some people still hold on to the belief that Spacey was indeed on Epstein Island, he claims that he has never visited the location despite having taken a trip with Epstein. However, the trip itself was filled with unsettling moments. Spacey expressed discomfort about Epstein's behavior on the trip, particularly due to the young girls on the flights. He told Piers Morgan in an interview, "I felt he put the president at risk on that trip to South Africa because there were these young girls." This statement added fuel to the fire, as Epstein was later revealed to have been involved in a massive sex trafficking operation. After the African trip, Spacey and Clinton visited Buckingham Palace. They were there to meet Prince Andrew, another figure later implicated in Epstein's scandal. Photos were taken in the throne room, including one of Spacey and Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's longtime girlfriend and associate. Spacey claimed, "I'd never met him before. I've not seen him since," referring to Prince Andrew. Despite these connections, Spacey has consistently denied any close relationship with Epstein. He stated, "I didn't know him. I didn't spend any time with him. He's not my friend. I'm not a confidant. I've never spent time with him." However, the flight logs and photos tell a different story, one that has left many questioning the true nature of their relationship. Following the African trip, the lives of Kevin Spacey and Jeffrey Epstein took dramatically different turns, yet their paths continued to cross in the public eye. Spacey returned to his thriving career, while Epstein's dark secrets began to surface, leading to a pile of legal troubles for both men. In 2017, actor Anthony Rapp accused Spacey of making a sexual advance towards him in 1980. 1986, when Rapp was just 14 years old. This accusation opened the floodgates, and numerous other men came forward with similar allegations. Spacey was swiftly fired from House of Cards, the Netflix series he had been working on, and removed from several projects. The allegations against him spanned from the 1970s to the 2010s, involving both civil and criminal cases in the United States and the United Kingdom. Spacey has consistently denied all allegations, and some cases have resulted in acquittals or dismissals. One of the most notable cases against Spacey was dropped in December 2019 by the plaintiff's estate. The plaintiff, a 62-year-old massage therapist, had died that September. This case was one of many that brought Spacey's alleged misconduct into the spotlight. During the trial of Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's longtime girlfriend and associate, Epstein's pilot, testified that he had seen Spacey, along with other celebrities, on Epstein's flights. Despite these statements, Spacey's denials have been met with skepticism. Many find it hard to believe that he had no knowledge of Epstein's activities, given the numerous connections and interactions. The photos, flight logs, and testimonies paint a picture of a relationship that goes beyond a single trip. In addition to Kevin Spacey and Bill Clinton, other influential figures like Donald Trump, former L Brands CEO Les Wexner, MIT Media Lab director Joy Ito, and LinkedIn co-founder Reid Hoffman have also been connected to Epstein at one point or the other. When Epstein's downfall began, nearly all of his famous friends and associates came out to condemn his actions and cut ties with him. The fall of Epstein was truly spectacular, and it began in the mid-2000s. Epstein's crimes. Jeffrey Epstein's first significant run-in with the law occurred in 2006, marking the beginning of a legal saga that would expose the dark nature of his life and desires. The investigation began when a 14-year-old girl and her parents reported to the Palm Beach Police Department that Epstein had paid her for sexual acts. This report triggered an extensive investigation, led by Palm Beach Police Chief Michael Reiter and Detective Joseph Recarey. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that Epstein's illicit activities were far more extensive than initially suspected. The police discovered a network of young girls, many of them underage, who had been recruited to provide sexual services to Epstein. These girls were often lured with promises of money, modeling opportunities, or other incentives. The investigation revealed that Epstein's mansion in Palm Beach was a hub for these activities, with young girls frequently visiting the property. In October 2005, the Palm Beach Police Department executed a search warrant at Epstein's mansion. The search yielded a mountain of evidence, including hidden cameras, photographs of young girls, and detailed logs of visitors. This evidence painted a disturbing picture of a well-organized operation designed to exploit vulnerable young girls. Despite the overwhelming evidence, the case faced significant challenges. Epstein's legal team, which included high-profile attorneys such as Alan Dershowitz, Ken Starr, and Roy Black, mounted an aggressive defense. They argued that the girls were lying and that Epstein was being unfairly targeted. The defense team's influence and resources created a powerful obstacle for the prosecution. In May 2006, the Palm Beach Police Department presented their findings to the Palm Beach County State Attorney's Office, recommending felony charges against Epstein. However, State Attorney Barry Krischer's office initially set out to charge Epstein with a single count of felony solicitation of prostitution, a far less severe charge than what the police had recommended. This decision sparked outrage and led to a public feud between Chief Reiter and State Attorney Krischer. Frustrated by the lack of progress at the state level, Chief Reiter took the unusual step of contacting the FBI to take over the investigation. The FBI launched their own investigation, dubbed Operation Leap Year, which corroborated the findings of the Palm Beach Police Department and uncovered additional victims and evidence. The federal investigation revealed that Epstein had sexually exploited dozens of underage girls, many of whom were recruited from disadvantaged backgrounds. In 2007, as the federal investigation was nearing its conclusion, Epstein's legal team negotiated a controversial non-prosecution agreement with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Florida, led by Alexander Acosta. This agreement, often referred to as the Sweetheart Deal, granted Epstein immunity from federal prosecution in exchange for pleading guilty to 2 state charges of soliciting prostitution, one involving a minor. The deal also provided immunity to any potential co-conspirators, effectively ending the FBI's investigation into Epstein's sex crimes. The terms of the non-prosecution agreement were highly unusual and sparked widespread criticism. Epstein was sentenced to 18 months in a Palm Beach County jail, but his incarceration was far from typical. He was housed in a private wing of the jail and was allowed to leave for up to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, on work release. This arrangement allowed Epstein to continue his business activities and maintain his luxurious lifestyle even while serving his sentence. Epstein's lenient treatment did not go unnoticed. The sweetheart deal was widely criticized for its leniency and for violating the rights of Epstein's victims, many of whom were not informed of the agreement until after it was finalized. The fallout from the sweetheart deal had significant consequences. In 2019, following renewed scrutiny of Epstein's case, Alexander Acosta resigned from his position as U.S. Secretary of Labor. Despite the lenient sentence, Epstein's legal troubles were far from over. The sweetheart deal did not shield him from civil lawsuits filed by his victims, who sought to hold him accountable for his actions. These lawsuits challenged the non-prosecution agreement and demanded compensation for the harm Epstein had caused. Some of the victims told authorities that Epstein did not act alone. The sweetheart deal marked a turning point in Epstein's life, exposing the extent of his criminal activities and the influence he wielded to avoid justice. Jeffrey Epstein's second arrest in July 2019 marked a dramatic turn in his life. This arrest came more than a decade after his controversial sweetheart deal and was the result of renewed investigations into his activities. The arrest was a significant moment, not only for Epstein's victims, but also for the public, who had long demanded justice for his heinous acts. On July 6, 2019, Epstein was arrested at Teterboro Airport in New Jersey after returning from Paris on his private jet. The arrest was carried out by the FBI NYPD Crimes Against Children Task Force, signaling the seriousness of the charges against him. Epstein was charged with sex trafficking of minors and conspiracy to commit sex trafficking, charges that carried the potential for a lengthy prison sentence. The indictment, unsealed on July 8, 2019, detailed the allegations against Epstein. According to the indictment, from at least 2002 to 2005, Epstein had operated a vast network of underage girls whom he sexually exploited. The indictment described how Epstein and his associates recruited girls as young as 14 to engage in sex acts with him at his residences in Manhattan and Palm Beach. The indictment also revealed that Epstein had employed a network of recruiters, often young women who had themselves been victims of his abuse, to find new girls for him. The evidence against Epstein was damning. During a search of his Manhattan townhouse, authorities found a pile of incriminating materials. This included hundreds of sexually suggestive photographs of underage females, some of whom had been identified as victims. Investigators also discovered CDs and hard drives labeled with names and dates, suggesting a meticulous record-keeping system for his illicit activities. The search of Epstein's properties also uncovered other disturbing items. In his Manhattan townhouse, investigators found a safe containing piles of cash, diamonds, and an expired passport from Austria with Epstein's photo but a different name. The passport listed Epstein's residence as Saudi Arabia. These discoveries made it clear that Epstein was a man who was not only deeply involved in criminal activities, but also prepared to flee at a moment's notice. Epstein's arrest and the subsequent charges brought renewed attention to his connections with powerful individuals. His social circle included some of the world's most influential people, including politicians, celebrities, and business magnates. Names like Prince Andrew, Bill Clinton, and Donald Trump were frequently mentioned in connection with Epstein, raising questions about the extent of their involvement and knowledge of his activities. While none of these individuals were charged in connection with Epstein's crimes, their associations with him added to the intrigue surrounding the case. Following his arrest, Epstein was denied bail, a decision that pointed out the severity of the charges against him and the risk of flight. U.S. District Judge Richard Berman cited Epstein's extraordinary wealth and the serious nature of the charges as reasons for denying bail. Epstein's legal team had argued for house arrest at his Manhattan mansion, offering to post a substantial bond and hire private security to ensure he did not flee. However, the judge was not convinced, noting that Epstein's wealth and resources made him a significant flight risk. As Epstein awaited trial, the case continued to unfold, revealing more about the extent of his criminal activities. At the time, no one knew that Epstein's days were numbered. Jeffrey Epstein's death in prison on August 10, 2019 sent shockwaves across the globe and sparked a storm of controversy, conspiracy theories, and public outrage. Epstein was found unresponsive in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center, MCC, in New York City, where he was awaiting trial. The official ruling was suicide by hanging, but the circumstances surrounding his death raised numerous questions and fueled speculation. Epstein's death occurred just 19 days after his arrest, and mere hours after several court documents related to his case had been unsealed, implicating several high-profile individuals. The timing of his death led many to question whether it was truly a suicide or if foul play was involved. The autopsy revealed multiple breaks in Epstein's neck bones, including the hyoid bone, which is more commonly associated with strangulation than with hanging. This finding added to the suspicion and speculation surrounding his death. Although Epstein didn't live long enough to pay for his crimes, new details of his once hidden activities have continued to be revealed, ensuring that his accomplices will be exposed and brought to book. Check out any of our other videos videos by clicking the cards on your screen.